Let me know if you can hear me. Okay, I think I'm live. So now I'm going to switch screens. Going to camera. Now I'm going to my face camera. Moving. Let me know if you can hear me. Shoot, sorry about that. Okay, I think I'm here. I have a cold, so my trusty assistant isn't here. And this is actually a little bit of a complicated craft, or rather, you know, paint, paper mache, hot glue, lots of stuff. So, I don't have him to rely on for getting things, but I think I have everything. I've got stuff kind of in several stages of development. And let me see, I'm moving this on my screen so I can see y'all a little better. I see Tricia and Barbara. I still owe you a Vulture Gulch, Barbara. Roseanne, I see my brother, Ben. I see Stephanie. I think my sister is here. Mess level. Peggy asked about mess level. Today we're making little candy boxes. Wait, I thought I had some candy. But anyway, just out of toilet paper rolls and paper mache. If you mix paper mache and paint, it doesn't matter if it's a little thing, it's a mess level 10. Because, you know, you have to protect yourself, you have to protect your surfaces. You're going to get glue, you got paint, yep, mess level 10. Now, it's a low level mess level 10. But if you, you know, tip over the glue, tip over your paints, it's on the floor, that's a high level mess level 10. But this is low level mess level 10. And I think it's a good craft for kids. And I'll kind of show you, I'll be honest, I struggled. I had this vision. I saw a Pinterest thing kind of like it. And I'm like, this is going to be easy. It was not easy. It wasn't hard, really. It was just a little more challenging than I expected. This is the paper towel roll version for a candle, and you just drop an LED light in the middle, and it's kind of cool. Yes, if you add kids, that is certainly a high level, high mess level. Okay, but each time I made it, and I made 4, and I've got 1 in progress. Each time I got better at it. The hard part was kind of accentuating the face so that it looked like a face with raised bark around it, and that was the hard part. And so I kind of figured out some tricks for that. But you don't have to do that. You can just paint it. Here's like one of the kind of failure ones. And let's see. This one's actually pretty good. Also, I didn't want them to be too spooky, so mine are, you know, kind of surprise rather than really spooky. Now, I started playing around with tree stump projects years ago. I think probably started with something like a fairy house, but also I made a witch's house. This is in my book, 13 Handcrafted Halloween Houses, and it's a very simple version. You can see it's got some texture on it, but not a lot of paper mache, and that one was made into like a witch's hat, and then this version of it just has leaves on the roof. So that was one of the first things I did. And then this is what I really, really loved. Let me move these out of the way. This is the candy bowl. And I think I made this as a demo last year. I still haven't decorated it. I need to add some creepy crawlies and, you know, some stuff. So you reach in past all these little like snakes and bugs and get your candy out. But you can see it really looks like bark. I did, you know, it's larger, which makes it easier to do, at least to mimic bark. It makes it easier to mimic bark. And that's one of my favorites. But I'll show you another one that I've always kind of considered a failure. I made this one, and this one is, you know, just like this version. This is made out of toilet paper roll. And I did well on the bark, but what I didn't do was give enough life to the limbs, and they just kind of end, and so it's just a funny shape. I made it flat on the back so you could put it against a wall, but I didn't give enough dimension to the branches. So one day I will explore that and try to do that one better. But I did decorate the bottom pretty well. See, with some mushrooms and leaves and some moss, so that one's kind of fun. Yeah, the candy bowl tree stump, that's my favorite. You can actually sit on it, it's so strong. And all it is I think 3 layers of poster board. And it's poster board folded in half and then like an extra layer. And then these, just paper mache on top. And it's like crazy. I mean, it's honestly almost like a little stool. If I was going to make it as a stool, I would have done several more layers of the underlying cardboard just to make, so, you don't want somebody to sit on it. Okay, so what do we need to make our little candy boxes? Toilet paper rolls, cardboard rolls. You can purchase them, but I'll show you there's sort of a problem if you purchase them. They're very thick. And they're hard to cut through. So if you want to cut out the face shape, it's hard to cut through. Whereas regular cardboard, regular toilet paper rolls are very flexible and not perfectly round. But you can purchase them. And you can cut down paper towel rolls. Now they tend to get beat up on the end a little bit, but you can cut them in half as well. Or you could just kind of roll up your own cardboard. Let me see. I got some trusty cardboard here. And actually, I can tell right now it doesn't roll very well, but we learned on another craft, if you just spritz it with some water, it will roll into a circle. So you can make your own rolls if you wanted to. Okay, so you've got your cardboard. I did use some cardboard for the base. If you don't have a base, the cardboard tends to tip over real easily. So and that's in the pattern. You don't need the pattern. You can see it's almost like a rectangle with some little extensions on it, just sort of like a rough rectangle, sort of look like roots are growing out from it, but it makes it much sturdier. You can use hot glue to adhere the toilet paper roll to your base. That's the only time I really used hot glue, although I did see you can do hot glue for the bark if you wanted to kind of draw with the hot glue. I'm kind of clumsy, and so I don't use hot glue that much. I think I'd get burned if I did that. But it is an option. Okay. All right, I was just trying to make sure. Yeah, everything's here. Yeah, this is like a free craft. There's really little expense. You need a few shades of brown or some paint colors and something to make your paper mache with. The paper mache glue. Okay, so I'll show you here. This one I made, you can kind of see some stuff on the edge. That one's made with white flour, regular, all-purpose white flour, water, and I did add some white glue to it. And then I kind of made it, just kind of stirred it until I had a thickness that was real kind of easy to work with. And let me see. I decorated this one about, I know, I used a different brown color. He's kind of creepy looking. About less than an hour ago, and it's already dry. So that worked really well. Mod Podge works. If you do use Mod Podge, I would dilute it just a little bit. So I've got diluted Mod Podge here as well. Just so it goes on a little, not quite so thick. And I'm wearing gloves because, sometimes I have to touch my computer and, but a lot of times I like to do paper mache without gloves because I like the feel. I like the tactile part of it. Okay. All right. So anyway, inexpensive craft, messy, fun with kids. I think that's the bottom line. Oh, and so let's get started. I'm going to switch my camera, rotate. I put the cats up. Paper mache and kitties just doesn't work real well. So the cats are in a room. They're happy and content and well fed. Let me switch cameras. Rotating, trying to switch cameras rather. There we go. Okay, this is my, you can see how thin it is. I actually made it yesterday. It's probably fermented a little bit. It's almost like sourdough starter. And this, I kind of use this container as my Mod Podge when I'm like painting, using a lot of Mod Podge. And you can see, I think you can tell it's diluted. It's a little more flexible. Already stuck my finger in it. Let's move these guys out of the way. Now, one thing that's really important, I found this yesterday, is tear your pieces before you get messy and gluey. Because then you're like, you pick them up and they all stick to your hands, so. Jean says she doesn't like mess in her crafts, but she thinks the tree stumps are worth it. I especially think the candy bowl is worth it, but these are just easy. I made them, I don't know, about an hour. Applying the paper mache, depending on how meticulous I was. If I was kind of slap happy, it was less than 5 minutes. If I was meticulous, it might be 10. It's just easy. So, and I'm using, because these paper rolls are short, I'm using shorter pieces of the packing paper. And I really wanted to try out some paper clay to see if I could do better faces, but I could not find my paper clay. I have effectively hidden it from myself. This is packing paper, you know, so when I get a package, which is usually kitty food, they send me a little bit of craft supplies in every kitty food box. So this is just brown packing paper. You could use newspaper. I know people don't really read newspaper. You can use paper towels for it, and paper towels have their own texture. Wait, oh, I'm crooked. There. And let's see. I saw somebody, while I'm tearing these, I saw somebody saying they were going to the Pinners Conference. We were supposed to go together. I was going to meet some of my crafting buddies, but they weren't able to go, and I just couldn't go either without them. But we're going to try to meet somewhere next year for sure. So we'd like to meet you guys too. So we need to come up with a place where we can kind of go, okay, I know that's plenty. That's probably enough for 10 of them. Okay, so the next thing to do before you get started is kind of plan out how you want to make the face. I see Barbara Palmer there. Okay, so if you want it, I tell you the easiest is just doing like a kind of creepy eyebrow like I did on this one. Just some paper to function as an eyebrow. But if you want it to go around the eye, sometimes you have to kind of pre-plan it. And again, it's easier before your hands get all goopy. So you could just do like an eyebrow. Let's get 2 of those. Oh, and the simpler the face, the better. And if you have spaces between them, that's better too. So I just colored it in with a pencil. If you're going to cut it out, do it now. And let me show you. I kind of figured out something. There we go, dropping stuff already. Okay, so I've got the base. I'm not going to stab myself. I'm just going to kind of poke through, sort of make a couple of cuts. Then I'm going to use some small scissors. Let me show you my very favorite. I love these little things. And then let's see how this works, because toilet paper cardboard is thin. See there, we can cut it out without danger, without, you know, risking stabbing ourselves. You can trim it up a little bit, but again, it's not a precision craft, so let's poke a little hole. I'm going to try to do an X. My fingers are not behind where I'm cutting. I'm just like holding it at the top. I'm just trying to give myself a good starting space for my little scissors. And that one's so much easier than cutting it out with your craft knife. You can do it with a craft knife, but you know, you're like, oh, am I going to stab myself? And if you're working with kids, you want it to be as safe as possible. There we go. So there, we cut it out. It's easy. Let's see. I'm going to trim this one. Yeah, let's just do something like that. And something to go around the mouth. Just finding a piece of paper. Sonia's talking about going to Texas and stopping at Buc-ee's along the way. I've never been in a Buc-ee's. I know. But next time I see one, I'm stopping. Because I hear how fun they are. Okay, I'll trim this one. All right, now that I've got the eyes, got the face planned out and got my little pieces planned, I'm going to do glue, which means I'm going to put gloves on. Yep, spooky little trees today. I just wanted to do something simple. I wasn't feeling good this week, and I just needed something simple. It actually was not as simple as I thought, but it wasn't terrible. And like I said, okay, which should we use? Let's start off with the flour mixture. Flour, water, and a little bit of white glue. And you can see how thin it is. Okay, let's see if we can get you to adhere. That looks good. Where's the other one? There's my other piece. Yeah, you know, I have a problem. I do save a lot of cardboard. I was looking in my garage last night. I'm like, I think I can get rid of some of this. I can take some to recycling. And if you want it really flexible, you can dip it in. I think the flour gives it a little texture on its own. That's one thing I like about it. It's also easier to wash off. That's one reason I like the flour mixture better. It's easier to wash off than it is for the Mod Podge. With the Mod Podge, especially if I don't wear gloves, I'm like peeling glue off my fingers for days. Well, rather a day. Okay. There, I think he's a little angry Stump. Okay, now we're going to decorate him. You can dip it in, dip your fingers in, and I always try to twist at least a little bit. I try to twist and wrinkle because that's what gives it the texture. And I'll only do this one, but I think you'll see it's about 5 minutes. My brother said we don't, if you're talking about Buc-ee's, I think there are some Buc-ee's along the coast. I don't think we have them in what we call upstate South Carolina. My friends who, are just nuts about Buc-ee's always see them going to Florida when they go on a beach trip to Florida. And supposedly the bathrooms are so nice and clean. Okay, and Infinity said she started saving all her cardboard boxes. It's just a great craft tool. I mean, craft medium, I think. That one's going to be hard to wrinkle. That one was too thin. Oh yeah, and that's honestly, my friends are like, "Oh, we got to stop at a Buc-ee's. We went to Florida, but the highlight was stopping at Buc-ee's." Like, really? My aunt's like, "Oh yeah, I always spend too much money at Buc-ee's on a bathroom break." Really? Yeah. So anyway, if you get exposed to a Buc-ee's, if you have an opportunity to drive to a Buc-ee's, apparently it's worth it. Peggy Sue said she has to hide her cardboard for us, but doesn't throw it away. Yeah, I have to be very specific. Okay, so here I'll tell you another use for cardboard. I save many of the big boxes and I use them in my garden to suppress weeds, and then you put mulch over it and as a weed suppressant. So that's what most of the big chewy boxes go for. And it works really well. It doesn't look good until you get the mulch on top, but it's very effective as a weed suppressant. And, I live in South Carolina where we have, heat, humidity, and weeds are very skillful here. My nose is itchy. Ben looked up the South Carolina Buc-ee's. It's in Florence, which is kind of the middle of our state, our little triangular state. See, I'm almost done. Now, whereas putting the paper mache on the big tree stump, the tree stump candy bowl, that one took, I probably applied it for an hour. It was a labor of love. I see Susan Latz is here. Amy and Sonia, and I saw Delvine. Delvine's in South Africa, I believe. Sometimes we see somebody from Australia. It's always interesting. But Delvine is in a different season because she's in, a different hemisphere. So I hope it's not hot where she is. It shouldn't be. We've been kind of fortunate lately that the weather is a little more humane. Oh dear, I covered him up. Okay, let's try to get some in here. And let's do a little piece. If you don't make a jagged top like a broken tree stump, it's easier to apply your paper mache. Get one in here. See, it's not precise, and what I like to do is kind of squish it like this to give the bark texture. That's kind of how it works for me. Okay, this little funny guy's done. Well, he's ready to dry. All right, I'm going to sit him down somewhere safe, which is, I have no idea where. I'll probably step on him in a minute. I'm putting him on the floor on a piece of cardboard. Okay, see how easy that was? It wasn't bad. Kathy says craft knife equals red tree. Yeah, there's some of that kind of DNA on some of my crafts too. All right, so next, let's play around with painting. Let's see. So on these, let me get my best one. It's probably this one. No, I don't think so. I have another one that I like better. There should be 4. I started off with a really dark brown, and I don't think it worked. It wasn't a rich brown. It was dark, almost black brown. And so I'm trying to play around with a different color. So this is, let me see what this color is. It's like burnt umber or something. And it's very orangey, but I think I can paint brown over it really well. Let me see if I can make my light a little brighter. That's a little brighter. Okay, so paintbrushes, inexpensive paintbrushes. And let's try, so we'll do a darker brown. Oh wait, I need my background piece. Wait, I'll show you just a second. This is what I paint on most often. You're not surprised to learn that it's the bottom of a kitty box, but I can paint on it over and over and over, and if I, contain myself, I don't have to clean up the paint surface. I usually overrun it a little bit, but also you can just spritz some down. Oops, didn't mean to do a paint sound like that. Okay, let's pick out a brush. Always like, I kind of rough brushes, because I'm not doing precision painting. Should I have gloves on for this? Yes, probably. See, I kind of like the overlay, the color with the overlay. So this kind of orangey brown looks okay. So, it just kind of comes through a little bit. And if you want to accentuate the crevices, and be sure to get a lot of the darker paint in the crevices, or you can even use black. I did paint inside just a little bit because I didn't like the way it looked through the eyes. You don't have to do that. You could use vellum if you want behind your eyes, or, you know, something like that. Yeah, see, I think this is a much warmer brown. Oh dear, almost, see, there you go. Almost knocked it over. Much warmer brown. Okay, let's see. That's better. Now, I can keep painting. Let me show you what happens if I add another color. Let me see. This one's almost empty, so it's not going to be... And this is a Tim Holtz color, fossilized amber, but they're going to mix because it's kind of wet. So sometimes that's kind of cool. Sometimes it doesn't look good. You can just kind of hit the upper surfaces. With the yellow. But because it's wet, it mixes, so it's not as good. So what I want to do is kind of lighten up the previous ones I've done. So let me find one. This is a little homely guy. And let's see if okay, let's try this. We'll try some of this brown. And kind of lightly apply it. See if we can warm him up a little bit. I do think I like it better. What I may do is just paint over it all the way. And you can see this was one of the very first ones I did, so I really didn't do very well making the paper mache around the eyes. That's when I figured out you gotta do it. Kind of have to have that planned before your fingers get all sticky. Okay, see, look, this is a much better color. So we've still got the dark undertones, but it's just a warmer brown. It looks better. And if I smear it, I like it even better. So it's actually, it's more like the color I'm looking for. Okay, I think that's it. Really, what else? Oh, and then extra decor. So, you know, I've made polymer clay pumpkins before, not sophisticated, fancy polymer clay, just like little simple balls. One of these is a punch, a leaf punch, and one is from a pattern. I think you can go on my website and like look up fall leaves or something, and you can find a pattern for little leaves. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I am sure that there is a version somewhere on my website. In fact, you may find it under the series of 13 Halloween houses. There's a series of those houses, and then I kind of modified it and upgraded it and made a book. So I think on the tree stump house, you can find some leaf patterns there too. And on one of the fairy houses, there's some good little leaf patterns for you there. So, okay. All right. Let me, I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to rotate this out of my face. Okay. All right. Let me see where everybody is. So, anyway, that's our little craft today. Just, I wanted to do, like I said, I was kind of sick, so I wanted to do something simple. And then it really wasn't quite as simple as I expected. Next week, I think I'm going to show you how to make like a haunted house pop-up card, a simple one. Maybe I'll do two, I'm not sure. I wanted to use a stamp, and I wanted to show you how you can kind of convert any cutout into a pop-up card, because it's actually very easy. So that's probably going to be next week, and then we'll just keep going, whatever I can think of. Okay, let me see. Somebody asked a question about flat brushes. I almost always use flat brushes if that's what you're asking for. I'm not really a painter. I'm not painting figures. I'm usually painting for texture, so, or, you know, just for distressing. So if you're asking if the brushes are flat, yes, that's what I do. Okay, Nancy, thank you. Thank you. I'm not very sick. I'm just a little bit sick. And, you know, when you get older, you get paranoid, and that's why, you know, Ben is not here today. So I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to go nap, and I will talk to y'all next Monday, and I'll try to get the email out sooner. And I appreciate y'all spending time with me and sharing, and, you know, being a community. It just makes me so happy. And everybody is so nice. Ben actually knows y'all better than me, and he says you're really nice. So, okay. All righty. The brushes. Oh, I usually buy them at one of the hobby stores. And I usually get, it's almost like a student pack. So you get like 30 brushes, and I don't use a lot of them. Every once in a while, I want like a detail brush or something. But I usually get like a student pack, and they're relatively inexpensive. And I have a ton of them, and, you know, because I collect craft supplies. So, okay. All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. And y'all take care. Don't get sick if you can help it. It seems like stuff is kind of going around these days. So don't get sick if you can help it. Stay well and creative and kind like you are. Okay. Y'all take care. Bye. Hey, Donna. Yeah, watch the replay, Donna. I'm sorry we missed you. Okay. Bye, y'all.